Hello, just coming in to just chat for a little while. Just coming in to talk about, we are in the fall season now. We are in September. And September comes in now that we have our children getting ready to go back to school. In New York City, they extended it to the end of the month. But we got to talk about this thing, that our children is going back to school, our grandchildren going back to school. And the main thing right now is to look at how many hours they're going to be in a classroom. How much is that separation going to be? But the major is about the mask. How long is that mask going to be on their face? Going to class, sitting in a classroom with a mask on your face. That is almost like suffocating, So we have to really look at that real good. We thinking about the germs and everything on that part, but we do have to understand breathing in the same oxygen is not healthy. Breathing it in constantly is also bringing attack on the lungs, meaning that you got to operate the lungs even more deeper because you are breathing in the same oxygen. Going back and forth is being filtered, and some of that filtering is not going to be good because it's still coming in that you breathing the same thing that you taking out. So we have to look at those things, for our children's sake. We want the best for our children, and we want the best, going back, to school, back to work when that time come. Some have already went back to work, and the essential workers been out there doing their job. To the extreme, never stop working. So we give them a pat on the back and we salute them and we celebrate them. But now we got to think about those that will return to office work, will return to their, blue collar work, the white collar work, whatever work you're doing. If you're in the classroom, if you, dealing with the bank or whatever, you still got to concern yourself how you're going to be dealing with the people with the mask. We must recognize that we are in this here time of judgment. This is the time of judgment, and that we can see it due to the fact of the pandemic, due to the fact that we can see it due to COVID. We can see it through the trials and the tribulations that we are going through, about the protesting that we've been going through, dealing with, the police brutality. I'm telling you, we've been going through and through, and especially dealing with these here shootings that been going on. We crying out to the Most High God to the depths of our souls, to the depths of our soul. But we must recognize in the depths, and when I say in the depths, I mean really go into knowing that right now we are facing, I'm telling you, the judgment of the 3 6s right now. And you say, Apostle, what you talking about, the 3 6s, the 3 6s? Yes, the 3 6s, because we are dealing with the Antichrist. And the Antichrist was birthed out in the time that YAHUSHUAH came on this here earth. So now the Antichrist already been activated. But now we are going into another area of now in this millennium of showing itself and showing its face of the beast. And that means that right now you got to wear a mask. That mask is also representing the 3 6s. Where you say, Apostle, always representing the 3 6s? Yes, it is, because that means that right now the Bible tells us by the mark of that beast, of that number, that cannot even only by the Spirit of the Most High God that it can be able to identify. So you only looking at numbers, but you need to also look at the fact that the mass is representing the formation of the 3 6s, because it's also say you cannot go into the store to purchase anything without the mask on your face. You cannot go into any public sitting without the mask on your face. Even walking down the street, you don't want nobody to come near you if they do not have the mask on their face. So right then and there, even down to the bus drivers, the conductors and different ones that are operating with motor vehicles. using the mask on their face, sending cars with the mask on their face. So right then and there, even to go to a doctor for a checkup, the mask is on your face. So I'm going on showing you these areas by the spiritual realm to show you that we are right now in the midst of the 3 6s, and that is the sign. The Bible said that it would give us signs and wonders, and so when the pandemic started, this is a sign that have came in to show us that we are definitely in the time of the signs. We are in the time of the signs, what we are now seeing with our own 2 eyes. We are right now in the time of the signs that show us that we will be able to see it right in our face. Right in our face. Now we are now on, social media. Right on social media, you got people committing murder. You got people committing suicide. You got people doing some of everything, having sex. All kinds of things right on social media. This is the time to really get real, and stop playing church. It ain't about that playing church. It's about getting real, to know that we are in the times of the signs, and it's time to get real, to know judgment is in our face. This is the time that we have survived. Those that are still here on this earth, we survive for a purpose. We that are anointed and appointed, and the Lord has still have us here on this earth, have a duty. We have a responsibility to make sure that we spread the gospel to the fullest in this time of the pandemic, in this time of the triumphs, in this time when people are grieving. There are so many that lost their families. There are so many that grieve. Some families multiple deaths took place with the pandemic, from country to state. We cry out to the depths of our soul for the healing to come in for our people. We must be considerate to understand that there are those that are still grieving to the depths of their soul for the loss of their family members. All right, now let us get this together in the power of YAHUSHUAH HA'MASHIACH. Now I'm going to be reading right now in the judgment, about the judgment. That's right, about the judgment of the great harlot. And that is Revelation, the 17th chapter. Okay, I'm starting at verse 1. And the word of God says, and there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, and I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon the many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wines of her fornication. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sitting upon a scarlet colored beast, full of names of blaspheme, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman was arrayed in purple. She was arrayed in purple and scarlet colors, and decked with gold and precious stones, and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full abomination and filthiness of her fornication. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of the harlots, and the abomination of the earth. And I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints, the martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. And the angel said unto me, Wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman, and of the beast that carries her, which has the 7 heads and 10 horns. The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, and go unto the perdition, and they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is. And there is the mind which has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth, and there are 7 kings. 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and goes into position. And the 10 horns, let us go right now, and the 10 horns in the blood of YAHUSHUAH HA'MASHIACH, which thou sawest, are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. Now we must understand that what is going on right now, while we seeing this here situation that is going all around the world, what is going all around the world with the beasts, the kings, is talking about government. This is what it's talking about. It's talking about the government and about the things that we are going through right now. Well, it seemed like when the pandemic took place, there was no control. There was no control. There was no decision making. It was nothing but fear. That's what was going on. Nothing but fear. It all happened suddenly. Suddenly. It was not nothing that came in that we was prepared for. Even though they already knew about the situation about the coronavirus, they still did not prepare the people in the world about it. It was still a hush-hush thing. It was still a hush-hush situation. Now, when it come down to the 10 horns, these 10 horns is representing 10 kings. And that means that those 10 kings mean that they don't have the power. They got to go into the beast to give their strength to empower the beast. And that is talking about those that will join into that situation when it comes down to the rulership of that government. The Messiah. So when I talk about the government, I'm not talking about just one government. That means those 10 are representing now to take their strength that represent 10 governments to come in now to empower one to now carry the empowerment of the beast in the blood of YAHUSHUAH HA'MASHIACH and the Messiah. And they will all do this in 1 hour. This is what the word of God says. So those that are study approved, they know that one day that represented Yahweh represent 1,000 years. This is how it is broken down. So when you broke that down into 1 hour, this here is talking about the time is very at hand. Is very much at hand. That is going to be coming quickly when they come into power, and it will be coming suddenly, which we already seen it taking place dealing with the area when it came down to the coronavirus. When it came down to coronavirus, it was more than one government that was involved. One nation, more than one nation involved, representing governments. When it come down to China, when it come down to France, when it came down to Italy, all of these here is talking about government and talking about giving their strength over to one. And now when that strength goes in, that is when the empowerment of that. This is called the New World Order, which is now is you're going to be surrendering your power, your strength over to the beast.